everybody. Welcome to the USA Cares podcast. I'm your host, Matt Castor. I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Maeve Armstrong. Hey, Maeve.
Hi.
Going virtual today. The studio's a little warm, so we're going virtual, but excited to have another episode and have some cool stories to share today. But before we start, I want to give a shout out to our good friends at Hardee's and Carl's Jr. They have wrapped up their Stars for Heroes campaign this year, and we are so blown away by their efforts. For those of you who aren't familiar, Hardee's and Carl's Jr. every year in all their stores across the country sells little paper stars, and people write their name on it, stick it on the wall, and this helps raise money for veteran families through USA Cares. So we love our good friends at Hardee's and Carl's. Thank you so much for all you do. Also, a big shout out to Roller Die Informing and McClellan Integrated Services. And thank you for all your support for this podcast and for all the families that we serve. So, Maeve, we've had a lot going on.
Been busy this summer.
You had a big gala recently, right?
Yes.
Talk about that for a second. What kind of experience? What did you think of it? This is your first one, right?
Yeah. So that was my rookie year. It was a lot of fun. The committee always really helps out. But I think it was a big success. A lot of cool
over 600 people attended this thing, right? Downtown Louisville, Kentucky, and awesome event. So,
and some good prizes that people won.
Oh man, it was awesome. Yeah, a lot of good bourbon, maybe even some Four Branches bourbon in there, believe it or not. But some really good stuff. So this was kind of a wild thing though, Maeve. We were getting ready a couple weeks before, we're getting ready for the gala, and it's always a bourbon heavy event. And there's this guy that shows up at my door named Nick, and comes in, introduces himself, and we start talking. And he starts telling me about this group called Four Branches Bourbon. And I said, well, what's the story behind this? And he started talking to me, and I said, oh man, we got to get you on the podcast. We got to share this story because it fits right into the mission of USA Cares, and thought this would be really cool. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest today, who is one of the founders of Four Branches Bourbon, Mr. Rick Franco. Rick, how are you?
Hey, doing great, Matt, Maeve. Thanks for having me on. And I'm really glad that Nick knocked on your door.
Yeah, me too. When he was telling me about this, I got really excited because it's, we live in Kentucky. There's a lot of bourbon out there. And, when you find one that has a good mission, I get pretty excited about it. So now you're a Marine. You served, you had some time as a contractor in the CIA. You've lived some life. Tell us your story a little bit and how you got to where you are with Four Branches.
Yeah, appreciate that. So Four Branches, I think we've been on the market now 2.5, almost 3 years in production on the market. But I tell people all the time, Four Branches started 25 years ago. The seeds were planted for Four Branches. I started out as a enlisted Marine, and then I went to Virginia Military Institute and got my commission as a Marine officer. And while you're at those type of schools, you become friends with your fellow cadets. So I became good friends with another cadet. We were commissioned together and stationed together at Lejeune. And, we're at Lejeune doing what second lieutenants do, running around, a couple deployments. I got out, and as you mentioned, Matt, I got recruited into the CIA, into a program that you don't submit your resume to, right? It's not that type of program. You get asked to be in it. I found myself, I'd kind of fallen into it. And 20 years ago this year, I recruited Greg into that same organization. It's one of those type organizations or units. Day one, night one, Greg went out on his first mission and did what we were trained to do, not only as Marine officers, but also as CIA protective agents working for the CIA. And they got into a sticky situation, and Greg saved everyone's life that night. Truly did, right? But Greg didn't come home. And then I got the call to bring him back. So because I had the personal connection, I flew across, and I brought Greg home that night along with 11 other American patriots. Repatriated him back to Delaware, where that's where the planes come into. They come into Dover. So I stood procession over Greg and the other soldiers and airmen, Marines that were coming home that night as a presiding officer. And Subsequently, Greg was given a star at the wall at Langley, which was a very big deal because at the time, no contractor from our organization had ever been given a star within that unit. So I make that distinction. It was a big deal, right? Because remember, we're not government employees. We're not operating in the black, and we're not military personnel in the green. We're the guys in the gray in the middle, but still doing very important things for the government that need to be done for our country. So he was the first, and since that time, there have been 5 more men on that wall. That's a large number for a very small program over a period of time when you think about the organization. So Four Branches started as a tribute to Greg and what I call the unsung shadows. Yeah. Those other men and women, men from our organization on the wall, but men and women who served. And I tell you, how did you come up with it? Well, I'll tell people, Matt, and I'll tell you, Maeve, if you hear a voice in your head, do me a big favor. 99% of the time, run. Don't listen to it. Go the other way. Probably not a good idea. Every now and then it makes sense to, one will ring true that's so strong that says, hey, 3 years ago, driving home from work, still have a day job, driving home from the day job, it was do a barrel of bourbon for the guys in the old unit. And I thought this would be the easiest thing. How easy could that be, right? I can buy a barrel of bourbon in Kentucky, super easy. I'll get some bottles. I've got a pretty good little printer at home. We'll slap some stickers on them. I'll put it on Facebook, and the guys will eat it up, and it'll be gone in a day,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Until Uncle Sam tells you can't sell bourbon on Facebook.
It's like, oh, by the way, that's illegal.
Yeah. So once that's my public service announcement to everyone listening out there. Do not try and do that on Facebook. We kind of circled up and regrouped. But then, on a serious note, then I called my fellow co-founders, Mike and Harold and RJ. And we started talking about how do we do this differently instead of just honoring one organization. And we had a little bit of what I'll call a crisis of conscience as it relates to alcohol and military, first responders, veterans, and really anybody, because we know that it plays such a big part in men and women making a one-time fatal mistake. Yeah. And we didn't know if we wanted to be a part of that. So for a couple months, about 60 to 90 days, we took a step back from the project and really wrestled. We had a colleague that a couple of us knew that took his life that year. So it impacted us. But then we kind of took a step back and said, our careers have never been typical, right? I was a Marine officer, CIA contractor. Harold is a 33-year retired command master chief in the SEALs. Spent a majority of that group in development group, which is number 6. Mike was a Air Force security officer and then became a CIA officer for the director's staff. And then RJ, I always joke about him. He's the underachiever. He started as a Green Beret, and then at 39, he took the Air Force pararescue selection, which is like going to BUDS at 39. Wow. He holds the record in the Air Force as the oldest person on that when he was on active duty to pass it.
Wow.
So we said
you're definitely overachievers.
Our careers weren't typical, so let's become part of a solution, not a problem.
Yeah.
Alcohol's not going away. We know that. We tried that, right? Prohibition didn't work. So if it's not going away, we have the option of either ignoring it or doing something about it. And then we said, let's do something about it. Let's change the narrative for the men and women in uniform, out of uniform, and let's change the message out there. And that message is that whether you served in the military, law enforcement or not, everybody serves the community. And I think that's something that we can all agree on. It's a very unifying point. So on every bottle, we say serve honorably. It's printed on every bottle. Then we say drink honorably. And we say because if you don't drink, don't start. But if you do drink, drink honorably. That is not drink responsibly. That's a separate message, a very important message. But for us, the drink honorably means if you're the last one to come home from downrange, do not dishonor the memories of the men and women who didn't come back. We're lucky. We're sitting here. But more importantly than that, since we are sitting here, don't dishonor your own memory by doing something stupid. We see the statistics 22 a day. And that leads us into, and the ethos of our company. And that is, we don't drink to forget anymore. Rather, we choose to sip to remember. And that is the message that we're putting out there with our bourbon. That's the tool we use to have a conversation.
Rick, it's huge. I think what I'm thinking back to a lot of conversations we've had on this podcast with a lot of different veterans, particularly those who have lost friends like you lost Greg. And they coming back, they're going through the difficulty of transitioning from a military career to a civilian life anyway. That's hard enough. But then when you're carrying the burden of having lost a loved one, how important was it for you to have a mission-based career path?
It's incredibly important, right? And talking about that struggle of transition, right? I mean, when I got out of the Marine Corps the first time, and I struggled in the civilian community, and it wasn't until I got recruited and picked up into the contracting community, which was very much military centric, right? And I did that for a long time. Probably too long. I did it for a long time, but it was familiar. It was comfortable. And to a certain degree, it was a crutch. And then when I did leave, for this, I was in and out quite a few times with them, but when I did leave and got into my first real civilian career job, it was a struggle for quite a while. Until I learned to adapt and take my skill sets and create my own mission profiles that would give me purpose and drive, because we have that ability. Yeah. So I think that answers your question.
No, it does. It does. And that's just the conversation we've had with so many people. They get out in there, I got to go make a lot of money. And then they get into a career path that doesn't, they had this noble cause. They had this group of people that were their brothers and sisters serving alongside them. And then all of a sudden they feel like, I don't have a purpose. I don't have a direction. I don't have my reason, my why anymore. And I think not chasing the money, but chasing the purpose, chasing the cause is a great way for a lot of them to go and find that fulfillment, or to start their own thing that they're going to be passionate about and excited about. And especially when you and your co-founders, the way that you guys have come together as a group of veterans, and you have that team that can work together as you've had teams throughout your career. It's so important to find those connections.
It really is, and a part of, my varied background. I was a COO of a great nonprofit out of Montana, Heroes and Horses. Yeah. And when I was the COO there, we would talk with the young men and women, and we would talk to donors and civilians. And one of the things that I would kind of stress was, the U.S. military we have the finest fighting force in the world. We can take that kid from New York, that kid from the Midwest, the kid from Texas, and we can beat them into the finest, sharpest fighting force in the world. We're very good at that. However, when we take that plowshare and turn it into a sword, it's very hard to take the sword and turn it back into a plowshare. And we're not so good at that as a government, as a military. That was my observations. Yeah.
It's a shock to the system, isn't it? To say, wait, I was a fighting force, and now you just want me to turn it off like a switch.
Yeah. You hone me to a razor sharp scalpel, and now I'm out here and I got to turn into a butter knife to a certain degree. Becomes a little hard. So, but finding your community and finding a purpose, and I 100% agree with you, Matt, that don't chase the money. Find the passion. The money will come, right? Yeah. Because money's not everything, right? There's a lot to be said at the end of the day.
The money follows the passion, but the passion doesn't always follow the money. And that's
100%.
It's something that we all have to learn at some point. Some learn sooner than others. Took me quite a while to go after the thing that was the mission, but I think it's something that I always want to stress because a lot of people listening to this podcast are nearing transition or going through it right now, and it's just something that's so important. But also, like you said, there's a lot of the nonprofit you work for. Awesome, right? Awesome group. Yeah. And there are so many good veteran service nonprofits out there, and find the one that you click with Like find the one
That's
that you
right.
connect with and team up with them.
Yeah. I mean, one size doesn't fit all. You got to figure out, to your point, what resonates with you. And if you, and try and establish something and work with them if you need to, right? 100%.
Yeah. So how much of the focus, because felt this way to me, how much of the focus of Four Branches is giving back?
That is I'm going to say that is the majority of our mission. Yes, we are a bourbon company. We have to produce bourbon, but our purpose is to give back.
And what does that look like to you?
So from a numbers standpoint, what that looks like is that we give back 4% of our gross. That's a big number for a small company.
It's a big number. Yep.
Right. And then we give back in other ways. We donate a lot of these bottles to various nonprofits, organizations for auctioning, to be auctioned off.
You did for us.
And let me tell you, we never saw this coming. First of all, we always knew we were going to give back to the organizations that were important to us, that helped us along the way. So we've kind of have some pillars organizations, but last year, I think we gave to 32 different organizations as far as from a financial standpoint. But we give bottles to a lot more than that. And these bottles in 2.5 years have auctioned off to a total sum of more than $450,000 for those organizations. Awesome. We are humbled by that. Like when you see, we've had bottles like this go for $35,000, $18,000. I mean, one of the greatest stories is we're at a private event right out the gate. I think we're 4 or 5 months old. We're in DC. We're at a intelligence community and special operations community private kind of gala type event. We etched some of the bottles. These bottles etch really good on the side, right? So we've done some very unique etchings for different clients. And those 4 bottles auctioned off for $66,000 that night.
Awesome.
Blows us away. We're humbled. We are blessed, also blessed and humbled for that.
Yeah.
So it's changing the message and giving back is what we're about. We do have to sell bottles for the mission doesn't get told, right? Yeah. And we put what I would consider exceptional bourbon in the bottles because one, it had to be worthy of our own names, right? At the end of the day, kind of what I remember my dad, grandfather telling me is like, you only have your name at the end of the day, right? So my name is in the liquid. So is Mike's and Harold's and RJ's. But more importantly than that, the names of those that didn't come home are in this bottle. That's how we look at it. So we knew it had to be worthy of the sacrifices.
How often do you think about those people that you served with when you're dealing with this?
Every day, daily, every day. And it's getting into this, getting into the whiskey business was a voice in the head. Had you asked me 10 years ago, would I be doing this? I'd say, are you crazy? No way. But it has allowed me to reconnect to the community, right? To both the intelligence community I was a part of and the military community I was a part of. I reconnected with one of my Marines, decorated Marine, lost a leg. And he was passing through and he's like, hey, sir, he was a sergeant when I knew him, when he was under my command when I was a platoon leader. Now he retired as a master sergeant, but he still calls me sir. He's like, hey, sir, can I stop by? I was like, Jack, you don't need to get a room. You're staying with me tonight. And we cracked a bottle and we shared stories. We laughed and we cried. And that's what it was about.
That's what it is, right? I mean, it's a reason. Yes, you can sell some product and that's great. And that's a way to make a living. But at the end of the day, it's a reason for you to speak with them. It's a reason for you to share your story, and it gets them talking. Which 100%. When we're talking about this issue of veteran suicide and trying to stop this, one of the biggest problems is the silence.
Yeah. This is a tool that we use in a very obviously honorable and responsible way to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Gather around the fire pit, sit at the kitchen table, sit out in the backyard, whatever it may be. That's kind of how we view it. And that's what's resonating with everybody.
When you've got a society that's always they first meet you and they're like, well, what are you going to want from me? What do you want from me? let's sit down and have a drink. Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, exactly.
And they start relaxing them. But it's cool. I love what you're doing. I love the mission of it and how you guys are doing this. Tell me about your co-founders. I know you mentioned that they're obviously from the different branches, but
yeah.
But how was it that the four of you came together and got to know each other?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, Mike, the Air Force branch of the Four Branches, Mike had been at the CIA. He and I had served within the same program at different times. And I actually had been stationed overseas a couple bases with Mike's son. And Mike and I had crossed paths, unbeknownst to each other. We'd crossed paths in the late 90s. When he was with the CIA and I was with the Marines, and we were part of an operation. I was offshore, he was onshore doing something. Same with Harold. When we sat down to have a drink, we realized, hey, I was there. Hey, I was there. No, I was over here. And Mike and I had worked a little bit. We'd crossed paths in the civilian world too. So then I called Mike with this idea of, hey, let's do this for the old organization. And then as we were talking, and I joke with Harold all the time, I was like, these days, everybody needs a Navy SEAL. So we called Harold. He loves that, right? So we called Harold. Harold, Mike, and I had done some work together in the past.
Yeah.
And the three of us were sitting together and we're talking about this. And we, I kind of give the Air Force guy a little credit. He's like, ding, light, Navy, Marine, Air Force. We get one more. We got an Army guy. So the three of us all had one mutual friend in common who was friends with RJ. And RJ at the time was overseas. He was actually on a movie set. So RJ is not only is a Green Beret and a PJ, he's a safety movie advisor for some high profile movies and does some stunt work and stuff like that. Kind of the military advisor. So we gave him a call. He was in Prague on, I think it was Extraction 2. He was with Chris Hemsworth. He was filming that. We called him. We kind of gave him the story and what we're trying to do. And, 2 seconds later, if that was like, I'm in. So, that's how the Four Branches Avengers were assembled.
Yeah. That's awesome. Where does it go from here? Where do you see this heading? Like, what's the growth been like? What do you hope it's going to be in a few years? It's a competitive industry. Those of us here in Kentucky know how competitive it is. Where do you see it going?
Being in the spirits industry now, yes, from an industry standpoint, it's incredibly competitive, and we're seeing some headwinds. The industry is not like it was 2 or 3 years ago, right? But what I will tell you, and we've got the numbers to back it, is that we are up more than any other. We're up, I think, online like 238%, and we're up 40% in traditional markets.
Yeah.
That means the message is resonating. We are resonating. Where do we want to see it in the next several years? We'd like to see us expand past our 7 markets, get into the next 4 or 5 markets and really establish a base. And then in the bigger picture is that, Rick, Mike, Harold, and RJ, we fade away. And this ultimately becomes the bourbon of those who serve, right? So when a young corporal or sergeant or second lieutenant or colonel or captain, you name the rank, they walk into either, a Total Wine or Liquor Barn or a restaurant, they say, I'd like a pour of my Four Branches. That's where I want to see it. I want to see ultimately it's theirs. It's the branches. That's where we want it to go to.
That's cool.
That's success for us.
Customer reaction are you getting? Yeah, go ahead, Maeve.
As someone who I love graphic designs, give Matt the rundown of how cool your logo is. I really like the story behind it.
Yeah. So the 4 is more than just a 4. Each segment of the 4 represents each branch of the military that we served in. Army is the oldest, June 14th, 1775, 250 years this year. Everything grew out of that. That is the base. Second, October 12th, 1775, October 13th, 1775, the Navy. So when you look at that is that Navy mast or that submarine con coming out of the water.
Cool.
It grew out of the Navy. The third, November 10th, 1775, the Marines. Now, we are the smallest of all the branches in DOD. I'm the Marines, so I'm going to always argue we are the deadliest. There's that spear bayonet that comes across. My co-founders love it when I say that. The fourth symbol is the Air Force. Air Force covers the skies of all the branches. It is a swoop to the sky.
Yeah.
They're their superiority. But if you look in the middle of it, Matt, there's a fifth hidden element. In the middle, you see a half a spear, a modern spear pointed down. Mm-hmm. Every branch of the military has a special operations component. Two of our founders were in special operations. And special operations is often denoted as serving at the tip of the spear. So this half is for the men and women still serving today. The other half are for those that didn't come home.
Yeah, I love that.
The purple is the color of a joint operation. So if you go to JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, when you take a Navy SEAL unit, a Ranger unit, a MARSOC unit, you mix them together and they're going to do a mission, that designator is purple on the board. It's also the color of the Purple Heart.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, you're speaking the language of the people who are going to be most passionate about this. So that's brilliant. I love it. Well, tell people where they can learn more about you guys. What's your website?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us at Four Branches, www.fourbranches, and it's spelled out FOUR, branches.com. Go website. You can order. We ship to 41 states online. We have the ability to. And we are in 7 traditional markets. I know your listeners are all over the U.S. and across the world. So 7 markets, our traditional markets where you can go into a store and buy it, are Maryland, D.C., Virginia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Arizona currently. And we're in traditional retail, so you can go into a Total Wine or a Liquor Barn or any of those type stores and get one off the shelf.
I love it. I can't, I was excited about it when you all came in here and we're part of our big gala, and look forward to pulling you guys in more and getting you more involved. USA Cares, and we have a similar mission, and looking forward to that.
Absolutely. So we have 4 branches, and then every year we do a one-off called an LTO. So this is the LTO for this year. And so for the listeners out there that are in the Army, the Navy, and the Marines, this is the anniversary bottle. It's called the Continental. You can get that online and select markets. It's because we all started out as Continental Marines, Continental Army, and Continental Navy. Salute to 250 years of service to the country.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
well, Rick,
absolutely.
I got one more thing I'd ask you. One of the things I always ask our guests is, especially when somebody who's had a long military career, a varied military career, and we've got people listening who are approaching retirement, are approaching a transition, are approaching that adjustment. Talk to those people for a minute. What advice would you give them? What direction would you give them as they enter this new chapter of their lives?
I would say a couple things. One, if you have the ability, be picky. Choose what you want to do. You're valuable. You have worth, right? You may not believe your skills translate, but they translate above and beyond. So if you have the ability, take your time. 2, when you get out there, learn that not everybody, 99% of people aren't going to be, it's not on your level. Accept what you can change and what you cannot change.
Yeah.
Right. Learn to hold yourself to your standard. Not everybody will meet your standard, and that will cause frustration. But hold them to their highest standard. And lastly, just because you start the first job in the transition doesn't mean that's your only job. Right? What you get into today, I'm a prime example. Look at me. What you get into today does not mean you have to stay there. You have the ability to find. It's a great big world out there. Most importantly, find the thing you're passionate about. Right? You may have to find something to pay the bills, but use that as a stepping stone to find your passion.
I love it. That's perfect. Well said. Rick, thank you. It's been an honor having you on here. We appreciate it. If you're a bourbon connoisseur out there, definitely track down some Four Branches. It's helping a lot of people out. Goes to a good cause. It's got an awesome mission, and it's by four great guys. So, Rick, this was great. I hope you'll come back and hang out with us again.
Yeah, I look forward to coming up to Kentucky and seeing you. Yes,
please do. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. But again, to everybody who, if you're new to the USA Cares podcast, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. Make this part of your regular routine. We'd love to share some stories, some hope, some encouragement. And we also hope you'll learn more about USA Cares. Go to usacares.org and check out our mission. We hope to eliminate the factors that lead to veteran suicide, stopping evictions and foreclosures of veteran families, making sure they have food, making sure they have jobs, and getting them back on their feet. So we'd love to have you join us. But from all of us, from Maeve, from me, and from our team at USA Cares, Rick, thank you so much. And we will see you all next time.